You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Hi everyone, welcome to Potluck Food Talks, your favorite chefs and your mama's favorite food show, where we talk about food and life, smoke cigarettes on camera, and yeah, that's basically it. That's what we do.
If you don't like it, you can fuck off.
So today is going to be a question show. Like, we have some questions from our audience, and we're going to go through them. What do you think?
I think that's great. I'm really happy that there's so many people interacting and sending us questions.
So first one, Tamika's World is asking, to an aspiring chef, me, what is the best advice you can share or knowledge to look out for in a kitchen? Well, that's a very open one.
Well, that's a lot.
What's the best advice you could give in life?
Yeah.
It's actually also a difficult one to answer, isn't it?
It's a difficult one because there's different, it like really depends what you want, right? Like, why are you in the profession? Where do you want to go? Like, what is your goal, right? Your goal might change along the way. We talked about similar topics already. I think a good approach is in today's gastronomic world, the tendency is to jump around a lot. And it's because we're spoiled. We have this like curse of too many options. Back in the day, you were in your town, in your country, whatever. You had what you had. You would maybe look for the best restaurant that you could go to, or like if you were in Europe, you could travel somewhere. You could travel to France or whatever. Nowadays, and this happened to me, I think after I was in Mugaritz, I got into Mugaritz. It was like a dream come true, super early for me. And then after that, like things just opened up for me. And suddenly I was confronted with too many options. And I was like, what a great privileged position to be in, right? But I had almost sort of like decision fatigue. Because I was like, well, this path that I could go down that would lead my life in a certain direction is really great. But this path is also really great. This path is all different directions that my life could have taken. And you need to make a decision. And like, then suddenly you kind of like, I don't know what to do because it's all so great. So it's important to kind of like, either you have a certain idea where you want to head, or you need to find that out as two different like ways that you can sort of like choose the place that you want to go. If you still need to find out kind of where you want to head, I would choose a certain sort of place. If you kind of have a general idea, for example, you say, I want to open my own restaurant one day, and the kind of food that I like to cook is this and this, right? Then you have a general direction that you can go in. And then my advice is be patient, carefully choose the place that you work in, and the people that you work with. It's a little bit hard in the beginning to understand that, and it was hard for me also to realize that. But in your journey, you will work in places and with people that really nurture you, that you come out of, and you like, while you're there, you really resonate with the place. And you come out after like 2 years or whatever, 3 years maybe, it's almost like you're leaving your family. And you close a great chapter, and you're like, man, that this was a very impactful time in your life. Other places you work, and it's almost like you're just clocking in and clocking out. You're not really learning anything. You don't resonate with the people. It's almost just like another day, another dollar. That's bad. This is the wrong profession to be in, to have another day, another dollar, because you don't make enough dollar for the day, right?
Do you remember Mugaritz admission letter? That it says you should have, like, what was it, like, you should formulate for yourself the reason why you are here, and that's something you should think while you're in the hardest moments. They would say that.
Yeah. I remember.
And I think that's actually important, because there are moments that are hard, for sure, and you should have like a pretty clear idea of why you're doing this, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And then it's kind of like, obviously, I'm kind of imagining like a young chef, or like, I mean, not young as in age, but in experience, wherever you are in your journey, aspiring chef. Things are going to change, right? You're going to learn things, you're going to see things, your preferences are going to develop, your own cooking style and what you like is going to develop further. But for example, if you say, I like European cooking, I like French cooking, I like Italian cooking, that sort of style. That's what feels the best to me. That's kind of what I want to do. And I want to be somebody who owns a restaurant that cooks that style of food one day. Then find a place where you really learn how to cook. And I mean really learn how to cook. Honestly, Eric, these days I'm more and more against people learning how to cook in Michelin star environments if that means that they cook tasting menus. Fuck tasting menus. You don't learn to cook through a tasting menu. I really am starting to believe this. The more that I work with people, the more that I work with chefs from all around the world, I believe that in the beginning you need to suck it up and you need to not want to go to fucking Osteria Francescana. You should go to a really good restaurant that does a la carte and that does a large amount of covers. That's what you should do. You're gonna get put through the fucking meat grinder, but you're gonna come out at the other end if you choose, like, for example, a good one Michelin star restaurant that does, like, I don't know, like between 50 and 100 covers a night. And you work through the sections, you work through the garde-manger, you work through the entremetier, you work through the saucier and the portionné at some point. Do 3 years, really stick it out. You're going to come out at the other end after 3 years and you're going to be better than 80% of the chefs that are around in the world right now, that are walking around with their flash jackets and their fucking tweezers and that, oh, I starched at Nomo and oh, I did this, and who have seen cool things, and that's very, very important. I'm not trying to downplay that, but your ability as a craftsman, your actual ability and your sensitivity and your Jedi senses and your feeling, that's going to be ahead of everybody on the curve. And I'm going to recommend this to anybody who has a passion for cooking, actual really cooking, like not the superficial type of cooking, but like I want to make things really, really well. I think that's one of the best ways to go because you're really going to learn everything from the ground up. I would say do that. And then when you have that basis, the fundamentals always, it's like in martial arts, the fundamentals are going to rule everything. If your fundamentals are good, you're going to excel. You cannot be at the top and not and have shitty fundamentals. But you can be at the top and only know fundamentals, but extremely well. Like that's the thing. Everything else that comes after that is going to enrich you and it's going to make it more and more complex and it's going to build on that. But if you don't have that, you might as well not even start.
Create your own concept of understanding, right? Like why should something be done like this or like that? Try for yourself, try different ways, like and see what works best for yourself. Because in some cases you will discover, I don't know, let's say if we talk about mashed potatoes, some people bake the potatoes with skin, some others boil them without skin. I wouldn't say that there's a definitive way to do things and that's the correct way and everything else is wrong. I would say that it depends on what you're looking for. So you just try different things and decide for yourself what works best for you, for your concept, for you, because also some criteria is not the same if you're in a kitchen with 40 people or if you're in a kitchen on your own and you have to do everything on your own. So you have to apply that criteria as well.
100%, yeah. You can't act out from like a standpoint of just sort of like what you know, like the game is too complex for that. I would add to that, maintain an open mind. You will learn things, but like you just said, Eric, like there are so many different like approaches also that that are very, very valid. A very, very arrogant and stupid sous chef once said to me at Mugaritz, he looked me dead in the eyes with his 1,000-yard stare and told me there's only one correct way to cook rice, and that is the way of cooking rice in arroz a banda.
Arroz a banda, is that the one that is baked?
No, that's like Valencian style.
No, because there is a type of rice in Valencia or Alicante that is baked. And I remember I was working in a restaurant and they would do that often for staff meal. And there were lots of Latin Americans working in that restaurant. And all of the Latin Americans were really angry about this. Like this shitty rice that is all sticked and looks like a cake completely sticked. And I once said that like in a staff meeting and they went mental. Like, what? You're not going to teach us in the land of rice how the rice should be cooked and this and that.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, just adding to that, the Latin Americans need to be very, very quiet when it comes to rice. With their fucking, I'm gonna mix in like raw tomatoes into water and boil rice with it, and you have this like soupy sort of like red rice. It's like Jesus. I'm very sorry if I might offend some people, but I have had the
You're offending
worst
me right
rice
now.
in my.
You know, like
Yeah, I've had the worst rice of my life in Latin America.
No, I also, it came to my mind. I met this Japanese woman, Japanese American. Like her parents were Japanese and she was American, basically. And she asked her mother. She told her like, "I want to learn how to cook Japanese food," and the answer was, she just laughed in her face, and that was it. And yeah.
Oh no,
She had a problem with that. Like,
that's
the
terrible.
daughter.
Yeah, I can imagine why.
Tule ask, what restaurant in Berlin do you recommend?
Difficult question. Do you have one before I go or?
Restaurant in Berlin. Food is shit in Berlin. No, I'm kidding. Ständige Vertretung. That's one I like. To have like
okay.
proper old school German food. I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a classic one. Food in Berlin is difficult. Berlin has a certain sickness that is like superficialness over substance, where things are trendy and kind of hyped, but not very good. Places open up, they do something that stands out, but not because of its quality, just because of the newness factor. And people really buy into that, and other people from the industry support that. I saw a very renowned chef in Berlin the other day recommend his favorite restaurants, and every single one that he named, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Really, it's just a big circle jerk. Honestly, it's like a group of friends that are friends not because they like each other, but because they're all like well known, and that just keep recommending each other. You know, there's so few people that are actually doing something well. There's one restaurant I can wholeheartedly recommend without a doubt, and unfortunately, it's a Michelin star restaurant because it's not so accessible to everybody. But that's restaurant Horvath. Great owners.
I've been there.
Great owners, fantastic food, fantastic cooking.
I loved it. I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what they do is amazing. It's really, really nice. There's a couple of casual places. I love Ming Dynasty. Ming Dynasty is great.
Is that the one in...
You mean Zoologischer Garten?
Yeah. Is that the one around there? The one with the round tables?
Yeah, exactly. That's really good. There's a really amazing Thai place in Friedrichshain called Labkoi. And they've just recently like put on their menu sort of like, hey, it's not our fault if you can't eat spicy, please don't complain. Which I love because it's not because they're arrogant, it's just that they do their shit. They do Northern Thai food. They're like, if we change the spiciness, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to taste the same. So please just like, if you don't eat spicy, just don't come. They have this octopus dish on the menu where it says like, hey, if this is your first time eating here, you can't order the octopus because it's like so spicy. Because people just kept fucking themselves up. That's really good.
Imren for dinner. I like that one.
There was a really great brunch place, which now just recently closed down, which is really sad, called Love Deluxe. It was like a Caribbean-led brunch place with amazing food. It was super nice. Best cold brew coffee in Berlin also.
Bandol sur Mer. I like that one.
Yeah, I've not been. I can also really recommend restaurant Remy by Lode van Zulian, who used to have the restaurant called Lode and Steen. It's near Rosenthaler Platz, and it's like a European brasserie with a lot of Dutch influence. It's super cool, super beautiful dining room, good ingredients, amazing cooking. Yeah, and I would also recommend Hallmann und Klee.
Yeah, like I can't come up with, because I'm seeing like many of the restaurants I was going to recommend that they're already closed. They don't exist anymore. currently overrated and underrated ingredients. The question is by Robuchon.
Overrated and underrated ingredients.
Underrated sardines for sure.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Pig's ear. Pig's ear is fucking underrated.
Pig's ear is underrated. You don't ever see that anymore. Huh?
Yeah.
You don't see that anywhere. The anchovies, sardines and anchovies, I'm going to put them in the same category. The anchovies that we had at Muka. One of the best bites I've had in such a long time. You know that the other day we were talking about this like time stop moment when you eat something and you're like, oh, this is amazing. That was definitely one of them. I ate them and I was like, how many fucking anchovies have we eaten in our life? A lot, right? And for us to kind of like eat one and be sort of like, oof, man, Juan Vargas is doing magic in that restaurant. I'm super excited to see how that restaurant develops, honestly.
And overrated. Maybe caviar?
Yeah, I do like caviar. Caviar is very tasty. So obviously it is kind of like overused and very, it's very luxury, but it is a great product when it's good.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't say that there is any overrated product because everything can be amazing, if the product is really like a top quality product, everything is king. There isn't anything where you could say, I don't know, parsley is overrated or whatever. I think these are just like controversial statements, like when Gran Akat said that wine is overrated. It's just grape juice. Who cares about that?
I'm sorry, but what a dumb thing to say. No, I like your stance that you say nothing is overrated, because it just depends of the context that you put it in and the quality of it and like everything. I think there's a couple of underrated things. I think that, like you say, something like pig's ear, something like that is underrated. I think in the poultry world, a lot of things are underrated. Things like chicken, because chicken that we get usually is it's not, when you get a good chicken, you realize like how good chicken actually can be. I really think that a lot more restaurants that serve meat, and especially that serve chicken, should put a focus on it. It's like with steaks, we have this like grass-fed, this, that, Wagyu. And even with pork, you have sort of like old breeds. Chicken is still like the real underdog of the sort of like meat world, and it really shouldn't be. In the same category, things like quail. Quail is fucking amazing. It's by far one of my favorite meats. The problem is that it's kind of tedious to prepare and people don't really know how to cook it right. But if you do it right, it's unbelievable. Also, guinea fowl is unbelievably good.
I heard an interview with Carlos Garcia, who is one of the best Venezuelan chefs there is. And he was talking about how they built like a whole, like a movement in Venezuela among chefs to cooperate with local producers and start same thing as what happened, for example, here in the Basque Country or in the Nordic countries, like reshaping a food identity with your own things, right? But this got completely destroyed in the last years, mainly because of the massive migration and also like this emergence of new rich. And then suddenly there was like this whole snob scene where you would find Wagyu and tomahawks and all these kind of things in Caracas, instead of continuing working with local producers and enhancing or elevating local traditions into fine dining. Instead of that, just importing the most expensive Wagyu, the most expensive caviar or whatever. And I think that makes those products, for me, overrated, and at the same time the local products underrated, right? Like you mentioned context, and I think that like putting these kind of things into context, especially when you're developing the identity of a dining scene, I think that's key. And I think no strong dining scene except for Dubai, of course, survives with only only imported stuff.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah.
Cabezombo asks, "What's your opinion about everyone doing the same at the same time? For example, Deer in Berlin."
So I read that question and I was like, okay, basically you're asking us what is our opinion on your opinion, right? Which is a little bit tricky because I don't know if everybody's doing the same thing at the same time. I mean, he is referring to Berlin as a very small scene. Even so, I don't think that everybody's doing the same thing at the same time. What's really like noodled out is this whole sort of like ultra hyper local kind of thing where everybody's like, I'm going to like, like what Otto does, it's like, I'm going to use only ingredients that come out of like the region right around. It's kind of like, yeah, okay, cool. But it's very gimmicky, but Deer, like you can't bash it. It's kind of like Deer is a local product and it's fantastic meat and it's like you get amazing quality, and if it's there, use it. Nobody's going to be like, oh, everybody in Italy uses tomatoes. Nobody would do that. So
also, if it's in season, I mean, everybody will take advantage of the season, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Will definitely always have, like, I don't give a shit if the restaurant next to me has deer on the menu. At the end of the day, it's just the protein, right? Like what I do with it, how I prepare it, what I serve with it. I never like look at the menu and be like, oh, deer again. I'll never look at the menu and be sort of like, oh, fish again.
Oh, white asparagus. They're everywhere. This stupid bellied asparagus,
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I can't jump on board with that. Sorry.
Next question from our beloved editor Atrevio01. He asks, "At what point do you add salt in a Robuchon potato puree?" I have a very direct answer for that one. I don't know about you.
Go for it.
Once you already mash the potatoes and pass it through first the thicker and then the finer strainer, I bring milk to I heat it up, and I add the salt there so it dilutes, and I add that to the potatoes and mix it. So it's I think you mentioned you add milk as a last thing. I added before adding the. I added before adding the fat because I think that helps the emulsifying process.
I totally get it. I used to do the same. Now I do it differently because now I add butter until my potato puree basically splits. And then I just bring it back with some hot milk. So the amount of milk that I add is very, very minimal.
Okay.
And I boil the potatoes in salted water, unless I like bake them or whatever, but it's very rare. So they have a base seasoning kind of. I will add a little bit of salt into the milk, but I will kind of season as I go. I'll like add a good scattering of salt as I'm putting the butter in, and then I just like adjust the seasoning in the end. First, I get the texture right, and then at the end, I adjust the seasoning, and that's it. But I don't think it matters very much I think if you had a perfect recipe and you had everything weighed out correctly and you do the same potato puree every day, same potatoes, etc., and you know exactly I need only 50 milliliters of milk. For this amount of riced cooked potatoes, I need exactly this amount of salt, which would be pretty easy to do actually. You just need like between 2 and 2.5%, right, of the whole weight, and then you'd be pretty golden. Then you could just like mix it all together. I don't think it makes any difference to the texture, honestly.
Yeah, I do agree that it's not a big deal in a potato puree. But what do you think about adding salt in general? Because that's also a thing. Like for example, I would never add a pre-salt a steak, for example, but I would definitely pre-salt a piece of fish. Like there are these things that
What?
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know.
Wait. Hold on.
Oh yeah, this is very commonly done around here. No, and this is something I have seen also since I started cooking, like in my first restaurant in Café Atlantique. I remember seeing the station chef of the fish section opening his drawer before service and pre-salting fish and having it pre-salted and then sending it to serve, or even like brining it and having it pre-salted. But I would do that with fish, but never with meat. Why I wouldn't do it with meat? Probably superstition. Like, I don't know. Like, but I like adding, like, like coarse salt, like on top of once it's already like grilled or whatever. It's not that I would never make it, but I would never make it like too much in advance, like I would do with fish. Like I could pre-salt a steak and throw it to the pan, fine. But I wouldn't pre-salt a steak and leave it there for half an hour. But I could do that with a fish for sure. I could,
That's interesting because for me, it's kind of like the opposite.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I always pre-season meat when I cook it. Always. And like quite generously.
But like a steak that you will only grill quickly as well?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Always. Sometimes even if it's a very big piece of meat, I will pre-salt it like 15-20 minutes before I start cooking it.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. With fish, I almost never do that.
That's so funny.
Yeah. It's really funny. But like I'm just kind of thinking about it now because it makes sense what you're saying. And also with a lot of fish, I can see the benefit of pre-salting it because it's kind of like curing it. Because some fish I cure, right? Like if I have like a cod or even like a turbot and I want to like poach it, maybe I'll just give it like a light salt cure for like 30 minutes and then wash it off, pat it dry. It changes the texture, draws out some of the moisture. So I get it. Like for some fish, it totally makes sense.
No, but also imagine, for example, if you have a service that you will be delivering 150 fish fillets, I definitely recommend formulating a proper brine so that you have your fish pre-brined, pre-salted, like a brine, you dip it in, let's say 20 minutes, whatever, you take it out and everything is just properly salted and you just throw it to the oven without even thinking about anything, like it's like a good way of standardizing something like that.
That's very true. That's very, very true. And it improves the texture and stuff and the juiciness and stuff. For a lot of things, that's very good. Like, for example, I do it a lot with chicken. It makes it like the chicken is pre-seasoned. Yeah. Like you can grill it. It stays juicy. Super convenient. Yeah.
What about vegetables?
So
completely different thing, right? Like, but for example, in vegetables, I would never, let's say, like doing a sofrito, for example. Okay, it will reduce a lot, and then you have to calculate how much salt to add. But I would definitely add some salt at the beginning. I think it changes something. It's not like you do your sofrito, it's completely reduced, and then you add salt for the first time. For me, that's like counterintuitive somehow.
Yeah, it feels wrong. It feels like you can't get I think this is where I feel like I have superstition. I feel like I have to add salt, even if it's just a little bit in the beginning, to get like the seasoning in there. Even though that's probably not true at all, I don't know. But I feel like if it's not there from the beginning, it doesn't like penetrate. But I also add salt, like if you're talking about sofrito, just to help it kind of like release moisture, to draw out the liquid so it like evaporates more quickly, cooks down more quickly, kind of for that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it has a functionality that it dehydrates the produce, so it takes water out of it, it squeezes it somehow. And that water evaporates.
100%.
That's what I think. Maybe a physical chemical will tell me, oh, that's bullshit. Like.
Yeah, you guys are such idiots. Yeah, but even if a scientist would tell me.
For the first time, I heard a scientist like laughing at me because of preheating the oven. Like, why are you doing that? And I was like. Yeah, exactly. It was like it makes a fucking difference, like. And I was like, no, but the heat impact, like will keep the juices inside. And he was like, no, you fucking idiot.
No, I don't believe that. That is nonsense. I will die on that hill. That is nonsense. That makes no sense to me at all. How could you say that? Anyway, but even if a scientist told me, hey, it makes no difference if you add the salt now or later, I would be like, okay, thanks for the information. I'd still do it,
Yeah, no, of course. And I think that's perfectly valid, like because I think cooking is not only a scientific process. There's also like this ritual to it, this magic to it, like that science can't explain, and I think that's also very relevant.
That's it for this week's episode of Potluck Food Talks. If you like what we're doing, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok as Potluck Food Talks. The show airs every Monday.